Welcome to Excellence Econ, and today we will understand mass, weight and density. So usually in physics it's written that mass, in simple terms, the mass of an object is the quantity of matter that it contains. For example, quantity of matter is known as mass. This object contains whatever the quantity of matter it contains is known as its mass. Now, most important thing which we need to understand is what is the SI unit of mass. SI unit of mass is always kilogram. You need to memorize it. So the SI unit of mass is kilogram. It also, for the smaller masses, is also calculate in gram or milligram. We can also use these SI units for mass. Now in simple words, we will tell up the relationship that 1 kilogram contains 1000 of gram and 1 gram contains 1000 of milligrams. This is the relationship we need to understand. Okay, now what is essential? We need mass. The quantity of matter is known as the mass. That what is the formula for finding out the mass? Obviously, formula will become mass is equals to weight divided by gravity. Weight gravitational field strength. Okay. In a previous video, I have already told you that the value of gravitational field strength will be only become 10. Whosoever is deciding to write 9.8, this is the inappropriate value according to CI. The British Council always tell us the value of gravitational field strength, which is 10, so you need to memorize it by yourself. Okay, why we have how this formula is created? We need to understand. This is the object on a surface. Okay, now it is having its own weight. Okay, so it's applying the weights downward, but you think that it is also having another force. One is the force of weight, but you also need to memorize that there is an also force of gravitational field strength, which is applying from downward. The force which is applying from downward to the object is known as the gravitational field strength. The gravity force you need to remember as 10, the value, and the object's weight is also applying the force downward. We will multiply it to find out the answer, to find out the mass of the object. Okay, now we need to understand what is the weight. Okay, I hope so that you already understand the mass. You need to learn what is the mass and how to calculate the mass. This formula is for most important for every each candidate. Okay, now moving towards the weight. So, according to your book, weight is a force exerted on an object towards the ground due to the pull of gravity. Like all forces, weight is measured in newtons. We have find out the SI unit. Newton. Okay. The SI unit of weight is Newton, and it is also saying that the force exerted on an object toward the ground due to the pull of gravity. What does it mean? In everyday English, the words mass and weight are often used in a way that suggests they mean the same thing, but this is not in the same case in physics. Like in your daily life, you already use the word mass and weight for any object, but in physics, mass and weight are totally different. Okay, now we need to memorize that what is the weight's formula, which is mg. What does it mean? Mass of an object multiplied by 10. Where does the 10 comes? The value of gravitational field strength. You need to memorize. So this how when you will multiply mass with the value of gravity known as 10, so your answer will become which will be the weight of an object. Remember one thing more, the apparatus. You need to also understand that this is the mass and here would be the weight. Okay, so mass, as I read that the mass is always measured by a beam balance or mass will always measure by an electronic balance. Weight is measured by a force meter. Sometimes known as Newton meter. Here comes the volume. So what is the volume? According to your book, it is written that the volume of an object is the amount of space that it occupies. Alright, I'm sorry, making perfect. You need to measure the height, the width, and obviously the length. I have write down so that it could be easier for you. You need to measure the height. You need to measure the height of the cube or the object, the width of the object, and the length. So, are these important for volume? Exactly. So, now can you identify the formula? Exactly, you can. The formula would be Okay, I'll write here. V is equals to length multiplied by width multiplied by height. This is the mathematical formula of volume. You need to understand this formula. You need to actually remember the volume, remember the formula of volume, so that you will be able to answer and to take out the volume of the object. However, in your studies or according to some students, volume is only the effect of liquid. No way. Solids also contains volume. Not only just liquid or gas, but solid also contain the volume. That's why in physics the formula is generated. Also, you need to memorize that 1 cubic meter is equals to 1,000,000 cubic centimeter, or what centimeter cube, whatever you want to say. This you also need to memorize, and by this you can understand that centimeter cube or meter cube are both the SI units of volume. I hope so that everything is clear to you. Now we will move towards density. So what is density? Do you have any idea? Okay, we need to learn that what is density. According to your book, a formula is generated here. D stands for density. This is the important formula you need to memorize. Density is equals to mass divided by volume. What does it mean? Why the mass and volume are important to learn for density? This is because what I tell you previously about in mass, quantity of matter which an object contains is known as is mass. Obviously it's putting the force towards downside and also taking the force of gravity, which is 10 in the value, at upper side upwards. This is known as mass. So you need to now you need to understand that mass is important. We have learned that mass is important for finding the density because of an object. The quantity of matter which it contains is applying the force downwards, getting the force of gravity upwards in the return. So it's mass. This progress is mass, which is important. What about volume? Okay. It's not the length. I am talking about the area which volume has already occupied. What we have learned, these are overall the measurements known as length multiplied by width multiplied by height. This is known as volume. So what the place or the surface area an object has occupied is responsible for density. Meanwhile, so this is the measurement we can understand about volume, and we can now say that okay, now the volume is also important for finding out the density. So I don't think so that in density you are having any type of confusion, but still if you have, so you can comment below. Moving ahead. Do you know about the SI unit of density? Have any idea? You can take the idea from the formula. In formula, mass. It's talking about mass. Okay, now we have wrote out kg, g or mg are the SI units of mass. What about the volume? Centimeter cube or meter cube. Now can you identify them both? These both are the SI units of mass and volume. So what will be the density's SI unit? Exactly. It will be the SI unit of volume will be these are the SI unit of density: gram, kilogram, which are the SI unit of mass, and by this are also the SI unit of volume. We'll combine it, and this is the SI unit of density. However, you have to not exhaust yourself, do not complicate yourself. In the question, the value of density in a proper manner will become, or many times CI writes about like this. Yeah. Many times in CI, the British Council write about like this, that you have to write down your answer. This is the SI unit. That's why there will be answer. There will be mark 1, which is the mark of the answer, not of the SI unit. But in this form, there will be 2 mark, means 1 mark of SI unit, which is not written here. So I suggest you to memorize these SI units, which are important. Okay, and here is a quick revision. The mass of an object is the amount of matter it contains and is measured in gram or kilogram. Weight is the force on an object downwards due to the pull of gravity, which I already taught you. Weight is equals to mass multiplied by gravity. Weight is measured in newtons, and the acceleration due to gravity on Earth is about 9.8. Okay, in your book it is written about 9.8, but in CAI you need to write 10 meter per second square. Remember this in your book written, but you have to put up the value of 10 meter per second square, but is often taken to be 10 meter per second square for ease of calculation. Exactly. The weight of an object will be different on different planets because the value of gravity is different. Obviously, this is the common sense. The volume of an object is the amount of space that it occupies. Volume is measured in cubic centimeters and cubic meters. Density is equals to mass divided by volume. Density is measured in gram per centimeter square, centimeter cube, and kilogram per cubic meter. The volume of a regular shape is the product of its dimensions. The volume of an irregular solid is found by displacement.